When the counterintelligence officer from SMERSH looked inside this tank after it returned from battle, his first thought was to accuse the driver of treason. The interrogation protocol was dry and harsh. The sergeant faced a tribunal. The investigator simply could not believe that a human being in such a condition was capable of operating a 30-ton machine. Logic dictated that someone else had been behind the levers, perhaps even the enemy. But what the forensic experts discovered on the control levers and on the cabin floor made even veteran field surgeons turn gray. This discovery overturned the very concept of the capabilities of the human body and spirit. How could a driver-mechanic operate a tank for 47 minutes without the physical ability to even press the starter button? And why did an ordinary shoelace become the key piece of evidence that saved a hero from execution? The story you are about to hear is not just a feat of arms. It is a case where medicine officially admitted defeat before human will. July 1943. The Kursk salient. The air here isn't just hot. It is dense, like the wool of a greatcoat, saturated with dust and the smell of overheated metal. At night, the temperature doesn't drop. The earth, baked during the day to 104 degrees, radiates the heat back, turning trenches and caponiers into ovens. The silence is deceptive. If you press your ear to the ground, you can hear a tremor. It isn't an earthquake. It is thousands of steel machines warming up their engines beyond the horizon. There, in the German lines, mechanics are pouring synthetic gasoline, checking optics, and loading shells into racks. Shells intended personally for us. We all understand the layout. There is no room for illusions here, only the dry, ruthless mathematics of war. The arithmetic of death is working against us tonight. My tank is a T-34 with a 76mm cannon. It is an excellent machine for 1941, a masterpiece of simplicity and reliability. But this is 1943. Against us, they are rolling out Tigers and Panthers. The German 88mm gun punches through our frontal armor from a distance of 1,500 meters. 1.5 kilometers of absolute impunity. Their shell goes through like a hot knife through butter, leaving the crew not even a second for prayer. And us? Our effective combat range is 300 meters. To penetrate the side of a Tiger, I have to get right up in its face. This isn't a duel. It's a lightweight boxer trying to break through a hail of punches from a heavyweight to land one single precise knife blow to the liver. The chance of surviving such a fight is 1 in 10. Everyone understands this, from the colonel at headquarters to the loader who is currently wiping down the gun breech with a rag. We are dead men who have been given a reprieve until dawn. I am sitting in the driver-mechanic seat. It is so cramped here that my shoulders press against the armor. A tank isn't just a machine. It is a capsule of life in the middle of a burning field, and simultaneously, a steel coffin, the lid of which can slam shut at any moment. The smell inside is specific, a mixture of diesel, gunpowder fumes, cheap tobacco, and male sweat that is eaten into the upholstery of the seats. The ventilation can't cope even when parked. When the battle starts, the temperature here will jump to 140 degrees. We will be stewing in our own juices, swallowing carbon monoxide. The tank commander, Senior Lieutenant Belyaev, is sitting on the turret, his legs dangling inside. He isn't sleeping. Belyaev is a realist. He doesn't speak pretty words about victory, doesn't quote political officers. His task is to keep the machine combat ready until the first shot.
"They'll send everything," he says quietly, looking somewhere into the darkness where the outlines of the tree line are guessed. Tigers, Panthers, those new Ferdinand self-propelled guns. They have 200 millimeters of frontal armor. Don't even scratch them in the front, you'll just waste shells. Hit the tracks or go for the side. If you make it in time. If you make it in time.
That phrase holds the entire essence of our job. The control levers in front of me are two pieces of cold steel wrapped in electrical tape so my hands don't slip from the sweat. The steering clutches are stiff. To pull a lever all the way back requires 55 pounds of force, 55 pounds for every movement. A turn to the left, a jerk. A turn to the right, a jerk. Braking, putting your whole weight on the pedals. After a march, your hands shake so bad that it's impossible to roll a cigarette. Your back goes stiff, muscles clogged with lactic acid. A T-34 driver-mechanic isn't just a chauffeur. He is the grunt laborer of war who, with his body, with his tendons, forces 30 tons of dead iron to dance under fire. I check the gauges. The needles are frozen. Oil pressure is normal. Water temperature is dropped, but the engine is still warm, like a living creature dozing before a jump. The view through the periscope is a narrow slit into the world. In battle, I will see only a patch of ground in front of the tracks and the flashes of explosions. The rest of the world will cease to exist. Only the commander's voice in the headset and instinct will remain. Instinct that is faster than thought. See a flash, angle the hull. Feel the ground getting soft. Gun the engine so you don't get stuck on the belly. Heroism here isn't striking poses. Heroism is when you, deafened, choking on fumes, keep yanking those damned levers because stopping means death. Next to me, the radio operator Kostya Malinin is fussing. He is very young, just turned 18. There is fear in his eyes. Not panic, but that viscous, sticky fear that comes when you realize inevitability. He knows the specs of the German guns. He knows our side armor is only 45 millimeters. Any shell hitting the side at a right angle will turn us into ground meat. Kostya is fiddling with a triangular folded letter. "Misha," he whispers, tugging at the sleeve of my coveralls. "Listen, if something happens, give this to my mum." The address is in his pocket, in his tunic. I won't send it myself, it's bad luck. I look at him. His face is smeared with oil, black circles under his eyes. He wants to live. We all want to live. But statistics say that the average life of a tank in an attack near Prokhorovka is 3 attacks, or 5 minutes of direct combat. "You'll give it to her yourself," I cut him off roughly. "Can't fall apart now. Pity makes you weak. Pity kills reaction time."
Check the radio.
"Yes, sir." He immediately pulls himself together, hiding the letter. "We have a connection. Heavy interference. The Germans are jamming, but we'll punch through." The night before the battle is the most terrifying time. Time stretches like rubber. It seems dawn will never come. You sit in an iron box and listen to the silence. But it isn't a peaceful silence. It is the silence before an execution. Somewhere far away, a dog barks. An absurd sound. The world around lives its own life. Crickets chirp in the grass. The wind rustles the wheat ears. And in 4 hours this place will be hell. This tall, thick rye will be plowed under by tracks, mixed with mud, oil, and blood. I close my eyes and run through the gear-shifting route in my head. First, jerk, gas. Second, grind, double clutch, gas. The gearbox on a 34 is temperamental, demands brute force and knack. A mistake shifting gears means a loss of speed. A loss of speed under Tiger fire is a hit. A hit is an ammo detonation or a fire. Burning in a tank is terrifying. Hatches jam from hull deformation. Only a few manage to get out. We all carry pistols not for the enemy, but for ourselves, so we don't burn alive. Belyaev jumps inside, his boot grazing my shoulder. "Readiness condition 1. His voice sounds dry, like a cracking branch. Batten down the hatches, check the periscopes. Fill the canteens with water? Yes, sir, the loader responds. Good. Remember, the main thing is movement. A standing tank is a dead tank. Spin, weave, but don't stop. If you see a tiger, don't hit it head-on. Look for cover. Wait until it exposes its side. If we get hit, abandon the vehicle only on command, or if it's burning. Is that clear? Clear, Commander. It's getting light. The sky in the east is turning gray, filling with leaden heaviness. Morning mist creeps along the lowlands, hiding ravines and anti-tank ditches. Beautiful. Terribly beautiful. In a few minutes, this landscape will be torn apart by the roar of thousands of guns. Artillery preparation. Then we go. I grip the levers so hard my knuckles turn white through the layer of dirt. My hands are an extension of the transmission. My legs are part of the engine. I am no longer a human. I am a component of a mechanism on whose functionality the lives of 3 people behind my back depend. The math of armor is simple. We have 76 millimeters against their 88. We have 45 millimeters of armor against their 100. We have 300 meters of distance against their 1,500. No chance. But we will fight. A crackle sounds in the headset earphones, through which the battalion commander's voice breaks. For the motherland! Forward! The engine roared, spitting out clouds of blue smoke. Vibration went through the whole hull, echoing in my spine. I depressed the clutch, slammed it into first gear with force, and gave it gas. The tank jerked and tore off, digging its tracks into the Russian earth. The math ended. The work began. Dirty, bloody work. July 12th, morning. The sun hasn't had time to heat the armor yet, but the air is already trembling. From behind comes a sound like the sky itself being torn apart. The Katyushas are working. Rockets go over our heads with a wild howl, leaving smoke trails behind. The earth under the tracks shudders, accepting the recoil of the volley. Ahead, on the horizon where the Germans have dug in, a wall of fire and earth rises. This is the signal. 800 Soviet tanks. 800 machines break away simultaneously. Imagine not a parade formation, but a steel avalanche sweeping everything in its path. We are going straight across the field. The tall, thick wheat, which just yesterday promised a harvest, instantly disappears. The tracks crush the ears into the black soil, mixing grain with dirt, turning the field into a black, greasy mess. The dust rises so thick the sun dims. 5 minutes later, I can no longer see the neighboring vehicles, only vague silhouettes in the gray haze. There are no landmarks. There is only the order. Forward, to the west, toward the Oktyabrski State Farm. Inside the tank, hell begins. The roar is such that it feels like eardrums are about to burst. The engine screams behind my back. The clatter of tracks beats at my ears. The transmission howls at high RPMs. We can't hear each other. Belyaev's commands come through the headset with static and distortion, as if from another world. "Hold course 240, he wheezes. "Don't lag behind! Speed, Konovalov! Speed!" I mash the gas pedal into the floor. The 12-cylinder diesel responds with powerful vibration. The tank jumps over bumps. Every hit of the suspension resonates in my spine. We are tossed inside the box like peas in a tin can. I press my forehead against the periscope pad, trying to make out the road in the clouds of dust. My hands on the levers live their own life. Left lever back. The tank jerks left, bypassing a crater. Right back. We straighten out. The effort on the levers is monstrous. The clutches are stiff, no hydraulic assist. To turn this behemoth at 25 miles per hour You have to yank the lever back with your whole body weight, bracing your feet against the floor. Back and shoulder muscles fill with lead after just 10 minutes. Sweat floods my eyes, acrid, salty. It stings my eyelids. But wiping my face is impossible. I can't take my hands off the controls. 4th kilometer of the attack, the deadline of death. The Germans were silent until we got within killing range. And then it started. The horizon flashes with hundreds of lights. 88mm anti-aircraft guns set for direct fire, and the cannons of Tigers open a squall of fire. The sound of their shot is different from ours. It's a dry, sharp crack, followed by the shriek of split air.
The shells don't whistle. They hiss like angry snakes, flying inches from the turret.
"Flash right!" Belayev screams. "Maneuver!" I yank the right lever. The tank lists. The track bites into the earth, throwing up a fountain of mud. We get off the line of fire a fraction of a second before a slug slams into the spot where we just were. No explosion. The armor-piercing shell just rips open the earth, going 6 feet deep. Nearby, about 50 meters away, a T-34 from the neighboring platoon is moving. I see it through the periscope. It's moving smoothly, confidently. Suddenly, a soundless flash. The tank's turret jumps up like a lid on a boiling kettle and crashes onto its side with a roar. A pillar of flame 10 feet high bursts from the open hatch. The ammo rack detonated. The crew died instantly, even before their brains could register pain. "Don't look!" the commander screams, sensing my hesitation. "Work! Left! Go left, damn it!" I throw the machine into a zigzag.
It is the only way to survive.
German gunners are masters of their craft, but even they can't predict the trajectory of a mad hare weighing 30 tons. The T-34 obeys perfectly. This machine was created for a rough, dirty fight. It forgives mistakes. It endures overloads. The engine is overheated. The water temperature needle has been in the red zone for a long time, but it pulls. Oil sprays from the seals. A blue fog of exhaust fumes that leaked through the bulkhead stands in the fighting compartment. We are breathing carbon monoxide. My head is spinning, a taste of metal and blood in my mouth. I bit my lip on another bump. "Armor piercing!" commands Belayev. The clang of the breech block. The loader, a big guy from Siberia, slams a shell into the breech. His movements are automatic, but I see his hands shaking. He is soaking wet, his tunic stuck to his body, black from sweat and soot. "Ready! Shortstop!" This is the most dangerous part. To fire accurately, you must stop. Shooting on the move is pointless. The shell will go wide. But stopping is a gift for a German gunner. I slam on the brakes. The tank dips its nose. A second of freezing. The roar of our shot. Recoil hits the hull. The casing falls to the floor with a ring, chiming like a bell. Gunpowder gases fill the turret, eating at the eyes. "Gas! Gas! Go!" Belayev yells. I yank the levers again. The tank jumps forward. We are alive. Those 3 seconds of stopping cost me a year of life. My heart is pounding somewhere in my throat, drowning out the engine noise. Chaos is happening all around. Burning tanks, ours and German, stand like smoking torches. Black smoke crawls along the ground, mixing with dust, creating a surreal landscape. Visibility drops to 300 feet. In this hell, you can no longer tell friend from foe. The tank wedges have mixed. A dogfight has begun. Distances have shrunk to pistol shots. I see a blunt, angular snout float out of the smokescreen right in front of us. Gray paint, a cross on the side. The muzzle brake is looking right in my face. "Tiger! Dead ahead!" I scream, tearing my voice. "I see it!" Belyev's voice rings with tension. "Range 800! He sees us! Commander, he's gonna shoot! Maneuver! Get into the fold! Faster! Speed is life. This simple truth is pulsing in my temples right now. If I hesitate for even a fraction of a second, if my hand trembles, if the motor stalls, we are corpses. I feel the machine with my skin. I know when to shift gears without looking at the tachometer, simply by the vibration of the floor under my feet. The levers have become extensions of my arms. I don't think about how to turn, I just want to turn. And the tank turns. We have merged into a single organism, mechanism and flesh, steel and nerves. We slip into a hollow, a second before the tracer of a German shell draws a line through the air where our turret just was. The heat from the passing slug is felt even through the armor. Alive, radio operator Kostya exhales. Don't relax, Belyaev cuts him off. We've only just started. Find the side. Find his side, or he'll burn us. Inside the tank, the temperature is rising. The fan hums, but it's pushing hot air. The smell of burning rubber from the road wheel tires is becoming unbearable. Are we on fire? No, it's just the rubber overheating from the frantic race. Breathing is hard. Every inhale is an effort. Every exhale is a wheeze. Adrenaline burns energy faster than weightlifting. I feel a cramp starting to twist the calf of my right leg, which is holding the gas. But we can't stop. Around us is a meat grinder. Tanks ram each other, shoot point blank. I see a track get blown off a neighboring machine, and it starts spinning helplessly on the spot, exposing its side to a strike. A second, and it bursts into flames. No one climbs out of the hatch. We keep moving. We are a target, and we are hunters. In this steel chaos, the one who survives is the one who is faster, meaner, and who feels his machine better. I squeeze everything out of the T-34 that the designers put into it, and a little bit more on top. Forward, only forward, to where death of caliber 88 is hiding in the smoke. In the sights, a grey, angular silhouette. A tiger. It stands on a rise like a monument to its own invulnerability. Its turret, slowly, with a hydraulic hum that I feel even here, turns in our direction. Distance, 800 meters. According to the gunnery manual for the T-34 tank, this is the limit of effective range. But the manuals were written by people who hadn't seen the frontal armor of a tiger. There is 100 millimeters of alloyed Krupp steel there. Shortstop! Belyaev screams. I hit the brakes. The tank dips its nose. The suspension creaks pitifully, using up all the compression travel. A second of stillness, needed for the gunner to catch the crosshairs. Shot. At 800 meters, the shell flies for a little over a second. I see the result in the periscope. A spray of sparks on the German's front plate. Ricochet. The armor-piercing shell just bounced off him like a pea off a wall, going into the sky as a screeching piece of useless metal. The German didn't even flinch. For him, our shot is a knock at the door that only angered the owner. Didn't take it! The gunner's scream breaks into a squeal. Armor not penetrated! Closer! Commander Belaev's voice drowns out the engine roar and the thunder of battle. Push, damn you! Closer! Get to 300 meters! Otherwise we're done! 300 meters. That means driving a third of a mile across an open field, under the sights of the Wehrmacht's best tank gun. It is suicide. But standing still is execution. There is no choice. I mash the gas pedal until my leg goes numb. The V234 engine howls at maximum RPMs. The tachometer needle goes past 2,000. The tank tears off, throwing clods of earth from under the tracks. We aren't driving. We are flying. Speed, 37 miles per hour. For a 30-ton machine over rough terrain, This is beyond the limit. This is suspension destruction mode. The road wheels hammer the tracks with such force it feels like the tires will fly off any second. Inside the tank, we are tossed from side to side. I slam my shoulder against the armor. The helmet doesn't save me, ringing in my head, but no pain. The pain will come later. Right now, there is only distance, which is melting too slowly. 700 meters. I see a flash on the Tiger's muzzle brake. He fired. The shell goes high. The wave of compressed air hits my ears even through the armor. Missed. The German is rushing. He understands we are going all in. 600 meters. I'm driving the tank in a snake pattern. Left lever, right lever. The hull sways. It's hard for the Tiger's driver to angle the hull right now, and the turret can't keep up with my maneuvers. We are playing hide and seek with death on a flat field. More! Give me more! Belyaev wheezes. Sweat floods my eyes, acrid, salty. I can't wipe it. My hands are glued to the levers. I feel every stone under the tracks, every pit. The tank right now is my body, swollen to the size of a steel mammoth. 500 meters. The German hits again. A strike of terrible force on the right side, a glancing blow. The screech of metal on metal is so bad it sets your teeth on edge. Ricochet! We got lucky. The angle of the shell meeting the armor was too sharp. But inside, scale flaked off from the impact. Sharp as razors, flakes of paint and metal slash the gunner's face. He swears, but doesn't tear himself away from the sight. Hold it, the commander growls. 400 meters. We can already see the rivets on the enemy's armor. We see the black and white cross. It is huge. It is a steel mountain spewing fire. We come at him slightly to the left, trying to catch the angle of the side. The armor is thinner there, 80 millimeters. This is our chance, the only one. Get ready, commands Belyaev. Target acquired, the gunner responds. 300 meters. Stop! Fire! I do what shouldn't be done, slam the brakes at full speed. The tracks lock, the tank skids, sliding over the grass like on skis. Inertia spins the hull, but this plays into our hands. We expose our angled front to the German while looking straight at his side. Shot. At this distance, it's impossible to miss. The shell bites into the Tiger's side just below the turret where the ammo rack lies. Impact. I see in the periscope a sheaf of fire erupting from the German tank. It isn't just a fire. It is the instant death of metal. The turret of the multi-ton machine lifts and shifts to the side. Black, greasy flame pours from the hatches. We did it. We killed the beast. The triumph lasts exactly 1 second. We are standing. We stopped to shoot and became the perfect target. In the heat of the duel, we forgot we aren't alone on the battlefield. A blow from the right, like a sledgehammer to the legs. The tank is thrown up. I am thrown chest first onto the levers. A terrible, grinding sound of tearing metal rings out. The tank jerks, tries to turn, but instead of movement, only the wild howl of the transmission and clanging. Track! Belyaev yells. Track is shot! The machine spins on the spot from inertia, ploughing the earth with the remaining left track, and freezes. We are stopped. The engine is running, but we are chained to the spot. Around us, open field. Smoke, burning, explosions. We won the duel, but lost the race. Now we are a stationary target. A steel box stuffed with people and shells in the middle of the greatest meat grinder in history. Kill the engine, commands Belyaev. His voice is calm, terrifying. Prepare for repairs. Sledgehammer and pins, outside. The silence in the compartment rings in the ears. We are alive until the others notice us. But it's a matter of time. German sights don't forgive immobility. I look at the levers. They are useless. My power over the machine has ended. Now everything depends on how fast we can connect the torn tracks under a rain of bullets and shrapnel. War gives no breaks. War simply changes form, from a race with death to working with death. And this work is just beginning. The hatch flips back with a heavy clang. We tumble out of the tank straight into the inferno. The air outside is scorching, not just from the sun, but from thousands of explosions. It smells of sulfur and burnt grease. Bullets ping off the armor like hail on a tin roof. Ping, ping, ping. Snipers and machine gunners are probing our T-34. We are targets in a shooting gallery right now. But there is no fear. The fear stayed inside, in the cramped box. Here, outside, only adrenaline and brute muscle memory work. "Sledgehammer!" Belyaev yells. His face is black with soot, eyes wild. "Pull the track! Kostya, give me the pin! Move it!" The track weighs hundreds of pounds. It is a dead, unyielding snake made of steel. We grab it with bare hands, not feeling the burns from the hot metal. Muscles crack from the strain. 3 of us, me, the commander, and the radio operator, pull the torn end, trying to join the links. The loader hits the track pins with the sledgehammer, knocking out damaged links. Every strike is an exhale. Crack! A mortar shard shears off the antenna on the turret. A fountain of earth flies up nearby. We are showered with hot soil. "Don't get distracted," the commander growls. "Pull!" We growl back, tearing our vocal cords. This isn't mechanics work. It is the labor of barge haulers in hell. Veins on necks bulge, looking like they're about to burst. Finally, the links meet. "Pin!" Kostya drives the steel pin into the eyelet. "Hit it!" The loader takes a swing. The blow of the sledgehammer. A ring that blocks the ears. The pin goes into place. "Tension!" I jump back into the hatch, to my seat. Hands slide on the levers. I engage reverse gear, give it a little gas. The drive sprocket turns, tightening the track to a ringing hum. "Done!" Belyaev shouts, falling into the hatch. "Mount up, let's go!" We are back inside. We are back in the capsule. The tank comes alive. I feel the track bite into the earth, and the machine, jerking, begins to move. It is a feeling of euphoria. We cheated death. We fixed it under fire in 4 minutes. This is a record for which they'd give a medal in peacetime. Here, they just give you the right to live another 5 minutes. "Course for the Grove," Belyaev commands. His voice is cheerful, angry. "We're living, boys! We're living!" We laugh. It is hysterical laughter. The laughter of people who just stood at the edge of the grave and spit into it. The loader takes out a flask, takes a sip of warm, stale water. Kostya checks the machine gun. 5 minutes. That is exactly how long our second birth lasts. We don't see the enemy. This time it isn't a duel. It is an execution. Somewhere out there, at a distance of 1 kilometer, in the thick bushes, stands a Ferdinand self-propelled gun. It isn't a tank. It is a mobile pillbox with 200 millimeters of frontal armor and a long-barreled .88 caliber gun. For him, we aren't an opponent. We are a cardboard box. His gunner, calmly, without haste, turns the hand wheels, guiding the crosshairs onto our turret. He's probably drinking coffee, or smoking. He has time. We have no time. I drive the machine in zigzags, but for a shell flying at 1,000 meters per second, my zigzag is a straight line. I don't hear the impact. The world just suddenly switches off. No sound, no light. There is only monstrous pressure that flattens the lungs and knocks consciousness out like a cork from a bottle. The Ferdinand shell punched through the turret. The kinetic energy of a slug weighing 22 pounds in a confined space turns the air into a solid object. The blast wave and thousands of armor shards do their job in a fraction of a second. I come to from the smell. It is the smell of a slaughterhouse. Sharp, nauseating smell of copper, raw meat, and burnt wool. There is a ringing in my ears, like a steam locomotive whistle, a high, continuous whine. I try to shout, "Commander!" but my lips move soundlessly. I've gone deaf. I turn my head back. The turret is gone. More precisely, it is there, but inside it, a mess. Belyaev, Kostya, the loader, they are gone.
There is only red, smoking mash on the gun breech in the walls.
The armor-piercing shell, passing through the armor, created a vortex of red-hot shrapnel inside. They died instantly. Their lights were simply turned off. I am alive. Why am I alive? The driver-mechanic's seat is located below the level of the turret ring. The blast wave passed over me, only concussing me and throwing me face-first onto the dashboard. The tank is standing. Engine stalled. Or is it working? I can't hear. I feel vibration with my back. That means the machine's heart is beating. Must drive. Instinct screams in my head, breaking through the cotton of the concussion. Get the machine out. They'll finish it off now. I try to grab the control levers. It is a reflex. The brain sends a signal to the hands. Clench fingers, pull back. But the levers don't move. I look down. Strange. Why is there something red and shapeless lying on the levers? Where are my gloves? Where are my fingers? Pain doesn't come immediately. First comes surprise. Childish, stupid misunderstanding. I see my forearms. The sleeves of the coveralls are torn and soaked in black. And further, where the hands should be, there is nothing there. Only crushed bones, white shards sticking out of red meat, and shreds of skin. The blast wave, or a large shard, sheared off both hands, like branches with pruning shears, cleanly, dirtily, terribly. Blood isn't dripping. It is spurting in jerks, in time with the frantic rhythm of the heart. Bright, scarlet arterial blood floods the black ebonite handles of the levers, flows onto my knees, onto the pedals. I look at these stumps and cannot believe that this is my body. This is some kind of mistake. This cannot be. I can feel my fingers. I feel myself making fists. Phantom pain deceives the brain. It seems to me the hands are there, they just aren't obeying. But the eyes see the truth. And in this second, the ringing in the ears begins to recede, replaced by a growing roar. Hearing is returning, and with hearing comes the pain. It rolls in not as a wave, but a tsunami. Hot, blinding, tearing consciousness to pieces. I try to scream, but only a hoarse, gurgling howl of a wounded beast bursts from my throat. I am alone, in a steel box that in a minute will become my grave. Around me, dead comrades. And my hands, my main tool, my only weapon, have turned into bloody shreds. A tank is an extension of a tanker's body. Without hands, a tank is just a pile of iron, and a tanker without hands is a piece of meat. I look at the gauges through a veil of tears and pain. Oil pressure is dropping. Must kill the engine. No, must drive. But with what? With what do I drive? Blood floods the floor. Life is leaving me with every beat of the heart. Another 2 minutes of such blood loss, and I will pass out, and never wake up. Must do something.
Must plug these holes in the body, otherwise it's the end.
The silence inside the tank rings louder than the artillery barrage. It is a vacuum formed after the death of the crew. I am alone. Around me, twisted metal and what remains of my comrades. The air is thick, sticky, saturated with the sweet smell of death and the sharp stench of burnt gunpowder. But I have no time to grieve. I have a more important problem. Life is leaving my hands. I look at the pulsating fountains of blood. Arteries are severed. Medical statistics speak clearly. With such a wound, a person has 3 to 5 minutes before losing consciousness from blood loss. Then, hypovolemic shock and death. I have already spent 2 minutes realizing it. 3 left. Time has compressed into a tight spring. No panic. Emotions have switched off, as if the fuses blew in an electrical circuit. Only cold, calculating reason remains.
The brain is turned into an onboard computer, solving a problem with one unknown: how to block the main lines. First aid kit? It hangs on the wall of the fighting compartment, behind the back of the dead loader. Impossible to reach. I can't stand up. My feet slide in a pool of my own blood, and there is no strength. Need something here, at hand, or rather, underfoot. I scour the floor with my gaze. In the corner, under the pedals, lies a pile of oily rags. Dirty rags we used to wipe the transmission. They are black with used oil, soaked in diesel and dust. It is the perfect breeding ground for gangrene. But gangrene kills in days, and blood will kill me now. No choice. I slide off the seat onto the floor, into the narrow space between the levers and the ammo rack. Cramped. Knees press against the levers. I grab a piece of rag with my teeth. The fabric is stiff, salty from oil and dirt. The taste of diesel fuel fills my mouth, causing nausea, but I swallow the spasm. Using teeth and knees, I straighten the rag. It is a wild, bestial choreography. I clamp the stump of my right arm between my knees, fixing it in a death grip. Now I need to wind the tourniquet. I make a loop, helping with my chin and left stump. Every movement resonates with a flash of pain that explodes in white light before my eyes. But stopping is impossible. "Pull!" I hiss through clenched teeth. "Pull, damn it!" I tighten the knot with my teeth, growling like a dog latching onto a bone. The fabric cuts into the flesh above the elbow. Need to compress the artery. Harder. Harder. My jaws cramp. I feel teeth crumbling, but I keep pulling. The flow of blood slows down. The fountain turns into a lazy ooze. First one done. Now the left. Strength is fading. Head is spinning. Black flies swim before the eyes. This is oxygen starvation. The brain begins to save resources, shutting down the periphery. Vision becomes tunnel-like. I see only my left arm and a piece of rag. The procedure repeats. Clamp with knees, throw the loop, tighten with teeth. This time the pain covers me so hard I lose orientation for a second. Darkness. I fall into a deep, soft pit. It is quiet there and doesn't hurt. I could just fall asleep there. "Don't sleep!" My own voice sounds like a stranger's, a hoarse bark. "Don't sleep, Konovalov! You'll croak!" I bite my lip until it bleeds to beat back the dizziness with pain. A jerk of the head, the knot is tightened. Blood stopped. I sit on the floor of the tank, leaning my back against the armor, covered in oil, dirt, and blood.
Instead of hands, dirty, shapeless cocoons of rags. I look like a butcher who fell under the knife himself. Hands burn with fire. It feels like they were shoved into molten lead. But this is good pain. Alive. It means the nerves are still working. I try to catch my breath. Lungs work with a whistle, inhaling stale air. Now I need to figure out where I am.
I pulled myself up on my elbows with difficulty and look into the broken driver's periscope. The glass is cracked in a web, but there is a view. What I see is worse than death. We are standing in a depression, around a graveyard of machinery. Black skeletons of tanks, ours and German. And between them, gray figures are moving in short bursts. Infantry. Germans. They are moving in a chain, combing the field, finishing off the wounded, inspecting downed machines. I see one of them jump onto the armor of a T-34 standing nearby, throw a grenade inside, and immediately jump off. A dull pop inside. Smoke pours from the hatches. A control shot to the tank's head. I am surrounded. There will be no help. The radio is destroyed along with the operator. Ours have retreated or broken through further, leaving the downed behind. To my side, I am irrecoverable losses. A line in a death notice. German infantry is approaching, 200 meters. In 5 minutes, they will be here. They will see an intact hull, knock on the armor with a rifle butt. If I don't open, they'll blow the hatch or burn it with thermite. There will be no captivity. Commissars and tankers aren't taken prisoner, especially cripples. They will simply shoot me on the spot like a sick horse. I look at my hand stumps. I can't pick up a pistol. I can't pull the pin on a grenade. I can't even shoot myself to not give myself up alive. I am absolutely helpless. Despair pierces the heart like an icy needle. But then my gaze falls on the dashboard. Water temperature needle. 100 degrees Celsius. Engine hot. It hasn't cooled down. A tank is a weapon. Even if it has no shells, it has 30 tons of weight and 500 horsepower. Hell no, I whisper with dry lips. To hell with you, not a death notice. If I die, then on the move. If I burn, then together with them. I have to start the machine. I have to rip this steel tomb from the clutches of death. But how? How to press the starter button without fingers? How to shift gears if the lever requires a man's strength, and I only have bone stumps wrapped in dirty rags? The answer comes by itself. A terrible answer, but the only one. The body is a tool. If one tool is broken, use another. I look at my legs. They are intact. And the struggle begins not with the enemy, but with my own mangled flesh. A struggle for the right to make one last dash. The engine is running. 12 cylinders vibrate behind my back, transmitting tremors to the spine. This rhythm soothes. While the motor beats, the tank is alive. And if the tank is alive, I am alive. But an engine at idle is just noise. To break out of this steel coffin, I need to make the machine move. I need to put it in gear. I look at the gear shift lever, the shift gate. It is a long steel rod with an ebonite ball on the end, sticking up to the right of the seat. In a normal state, to jam first gear on a T-34, you need a strong, healthy male arm. The gearbox here is non-synchronized. Gears have to be driven into each other with brute force, breaking the resistance of metal. Sometimes we helped with a knee. Sometimes, in the frost, with a sledgehammer. I have no hands. I have 2 bleeding stumps wrapped in dirty rags. If I try to push the lever with a stump,
I will just slide off, or pass out from pain before the gears engage. The task seems unsolvable, an engineering dead end. A man without hands isn't provided for in the design of a combat vehicle. The tank is designed for two-handed, two-legged, healthy people. Cripples have no place here. But I don't want to die. Survival instinct works faster than logic. It scans my body for resources. No hands. What's left? Shoulders. Back. Legs. Legs. I look at my tarpaulin boots. Heavy, rough, size 10. The sole is thick, inflexible. These boots are good for kneading mud, but they lack sensitivity. I won't feel the lever through a layer of leather and foot wraps. I need tactility. I need grip. The solution comes instantly, wild and absurd. I have to undress. In the cramped space of the driver's seat, I bend double, burying my forehead in the steering linkage. Pain shoots through my back, but I pay no attention. My face ends up at my right boot. Smells of shoe polish, manure, and old blood. I open my mouth and grab the slippery, dirty shoelace with my teeth. It is humiliating. I feel like an animal, a rat cornered, gnawing its own tail. The shoelace is stiff, soaked in oil. Sand grits on my teeth. I jerk my head, growl, saliva mixes with dust. The knot is tied tight. Before battle, I always tied it tight so it wouldn't flap. "Come on," I moan through clenched jaws. A sharp jerk of the head back. I hear a crunch. Either threads snapped or enamel on a tooth cracked. The shoelace gives. Loose. I spit out the dirty rope and start rubbing the boot against the heel of my left foot. Pulling it off, helping with the toe of my left boot, the boot flies off with a squelch. The right foot remains bare. Dirty, sweaty foot in an unwound foot wrap. I tear off the foot wrap with the toes of my left foot. Now I am barefoot. Naked human skin amidst tons of cold, aggressive metal. It looks pathetic, and it is my only hope. Now begins the scariest gymnastics of my life. The left leg in the boot goes onto the main clutch pedal. The pedal is stiff, like a bear trap spring. To depress it fully requires effort of several dozen pounds. I brace my shoulder blades against the seat back and push. Muscles of the left thigh turn to stone. The pedal goes down. The clutch discs separate. The engine is freed from the transmission. Now the entrance of the right, bare leg. I lift it, twisting unnaturally at the pelvis. The knee joint cracks. The foot feels for the gear shift lever. The metal is icy and slippery. On the knob is my blood that flowed down from my hands. I try to grip the lever with the arch of my foot, like a monkey grabbing a branch. Toes curl, trying to find purchase. First attempt. Foot slips. The lever didn't even budge. I growl from powerlessness. Sweat floods my eyes, stings the abrasions on my face. "Come on!" I scream at myself. Second attempt. I hook my heel behind the lever and press my toes against the gate from the other side. A fork. Now I need to push. Forward and left, into first gear. I push. The lever moves stiffly, with a metallic screech. The box resists. It doesn't understand this language. It needs the firm strike of a hand, not the soft push of a bare foot. Pain in the stumps pulses in time with the leg's efforts, as if the whole body is connected by one exposed nerve network. A jerk with the whole torso. Clang! A sound like a gunshot. The lever fell into the slot. First gear engaged. I slowly, millimeter by millimeter, release the left leg from the clutch, simultaneously pressing the right, bare, one to the fuel feed pedal. The tank shudders. The clatter of tracks drowns out the engine drone. The machine swayed and crawled forward. We are moving. I breathe heavily, wheezing like a ridden horse. I did the impossible. I crossed my flesh with the mechanism. Now I am part of the transmission. My bare leg is the lever. My stumps are the steering wheel. But it's too early to celebrate. The tank moves, but I see nothing. I lift my head to the periscope. The viewing slit is flooded with thick, brown liquid. Blood. My blood, which sprayed from my hands when I got concussed, and the blood of my comrades who were smeared across the turret. The glass is cloudy, opaque. I am in a blind machine. Need to wipe it. Reflex fires instantly. Raise a hand and wipe. I jerk my right shoulder and bang the bandaged stump against the dashboard. Pain shock sears through the body from crown to heels. I howl, biting my lip until it bleeds. I forgot. I forgot again that I have no hands. This knowledge has to be hammered into the head through pain every time. Nothing to wipe with, and nothing to reach the glass with. I press my face right against the periscope, trying to find even a small, clean patch. There, in the corner, is a gap the size of a matchbox. Light comes through it. A narrow beam of sun falls on my knees, on the bloody bandages. This beam is my only landmark, my thread of Ariadne. I see a piece of sky and the horizon. Nothing else. No pits, no craters, no German tanks. It is madness. Driving a 30-ton behemoth through a battlefield looking through a keyhole. But there is no choice. If I stop to open the hatch and stick my head out, a sniper will take me out. If I stay standing, artillery will finish me. Only movement. Blind, stubborn movement. I brace my stumps against the lateral control levers. A different technique is needed here. I can't pull towards me. Nothing to hook with. Means I need to push. Push away from myself, using body weight. I lean my left shoulder onto the left lever, pressing the stump into the cold steel. The rag instantly soaks with fresh blood. The wound opened. Pain becomes white noise, a background that just exists, like the engine drone. The lever gives forward, but this does nothing. It's dead travel. The tank doesn't turn. I realize the mistake. The side steering clutches work on disengagement. To turn left, you need to pull the left lever towards you. Dead end. Physics is against me. I frantically search for a solution. How to pull a stick without fingers? Hook. I need to make hooks out of my arms. I slide the stumps under the horizontal handles of the levers, brace with the forearm bone from the bottom up, and start leaning my torso back, hanging on the levers with my whole weight. Friction of bandages on metal. Slippery. Arms slide off. I repeat. Slide deeper up to the elbow. Clamp the lever in the crook of the elbow. Like that. Now pull with the back. The tank jerks left. It worked. The side clutch disengaged. The track braked. It is agonizingly painful. The lever cuts into soft tissues, presses on nerve endings, grinds the already crushed bones. But the machine obeys. Now I know how to steer. I am a centaur. Iron torso, diesel heart, and human will instead of hydraulics. Ahead lie 2 miles of hell, and I will cross them, even if I have to push this tank with my teeth. 2 miles. In normal life, that's 20 minutes of leisurely walking. In training exercises, 5 minutes of marching in a straight line. Here, in the epicenter of the Battle of Kursk, 2 miles is the distance from Earth to the Moon. It is an infinity strewn with mines, craters, and burning metal. and I have to overcome this infinity blindly.
My single eye, the cloudy periscope flooded with brown sludge, is no longer a helper. The narrow beam of light fighting through the dirt disappeared when the sun hid behind the smoke screen of the burning field. I am in darkness. The tank goes forward, but I don't know where. I don't see landmarks. I don't see the horizon. I don't even see the hood of my own machine. If I drive straight, I might run into a German battery. If I turn left, fall into an anti-tank ditch. Panic, cold and slippery, starts rising from the stomach. I am locked in an iron box, hurtling into nowhere. But then memory, a strange thing, throws up the voice of Instructor Rybakov. A classroom in Nizhny Tagil, 1942. Rybakov, an old tanker with a burned face, taps the blackboard with a pointer. In battle, eyes can deceive. Smoke, mud, fear, all this blinds. But ears, a tanker's ears see 360 degrees. Learn to listen to the war, sons. It talks. I close my eyes. Inside the tank is a roar, but I force myself to filter the noises. I cut out the roar of my own diesel, the clatter of tracks, the squeak of suspension. I listen to what is outside, and the chaos breaks down into components. To the right, a sharp, whipping sound, as if a giant shepherd is cracking a whip. Crack-tack! The sound is dry, screeching, unpleasant. Those are German guns, 75mm, long-barreled. They fire with high muzzle velocity. The shell slices the air with a characteristic hiss turning into a whistle. This sound causes trembling. It is the sound of alien malice. It means death. And to the left, somewhere far ahead, it sounds different. There, a booming, rolling bass. Boom! A deep, womb-like growl that vibrates the earth. These are howitzers. These are our 122mm guns, or the regimental 76mm ZIS-3 cannons. They don't crack, they boom. They hit heavy, substantial. This is the voice of home. I cling to the levers with my stumps. Now I have a compass, not magnetic but acoustic. To the base, I whisper, spitting out viscous saliva. Go to the base, old girl. Our guys are there. I pull the left lever, clamped in the crook of my elbow. Pain pierces the arm to the shoulder, as if a screw is being driven into the bone. But I endure. The tank obediently turns left, moving away from the sharp German bark toward the Soviet thunder. We crawl. I feel the landscape with my backside. Here the tank tilted forward, a descent. Here a blow, clatter of teeth, a crater. I work the gas pedal with my bare right foot, feeling every micron of travel. A little more, revs on the climb, let off on the descent. I have become one with the transmission. I feel the gears grinding the torque, the clutch discs engaging and disengaging. Explosion very close. The tank is tossed like a child's toy. My head slams into the sight. Darkness explodes with sparks before my eyes. Engine sputters. RP, EMS drop. I mash the gas, trying to catch the rhythm, but too late. Silence. We stopped. We stalled at the bottom of some pit. This is the end. A standing tank is a corpse. Now the Germans will hear that the motor died and blanket this grid square with mortars. Need to start up. I reach for the starter button on the dashboard and freeze. The button. A small black button the size of a coin. To press it, you need a finger. I have no fingers. I have two bloody, swollen stumps wrapped in slippery rags. If I poke the stump at the panel, I'll hit 3 toggle switches at once, or just slide off. Besides, to start a hot V2,
You need to simultaneously press the starter and give a little gas so the fuel pump plungers inject diesel. Hand on the button, foot on the pedal. That's how it's done. But no hands. I look at the panel, then at the pedals. Distance, 3 feet. My body isn't rubber. I try to press with the stump, slide off, hit the fresh wound on metal. The pain is such that I scream out loud, but the scream drowns in the cotton of the helmet. Again, missed. No time. I hear shrapnel ticking on the armor. They are finding the range. I slide down from the seat to the floor, curl into a knot like a worm chopped by a shovel. Back rests against the engine compartment bulkhead, head somewhere under the dashboard. I lift my left leg, the one in the boot. I hoist it above my head, bracing my lower back against the levers. Dirt from the boot pours onto my face, into my mouth, eyes. I search for the starter button with the toe of the boot. Right leg, bare, slippery with sweat and oil, feels for the gas pedal. I hang in this ridiculous, humiliating pose, crucified between mechanisms. A stump man trying to revive a 30-ton monster. "Come on," I wheeze. The left boot finds the button. I feel its firmness through the sole. Press. I push the panel with my foot. Simultaneously, the toes of my bare right foot squeeze the gas pedal. Whee-oo! The starter howled. The electric motor tries to turn the crankshaft. Not enough gas. I press harder with my toes until the arch of my foot cramps. Whee-oo! Turr! The engine coughs, spits a cloud of smoke, and catches. A dull, even rumble fills the hull. The vibration of life returns. Yes, I laugh. It is a mad, barking laugh. I started the tank with my feet. Now the hardest part, getting back into the seat. I squirm, pulling myself up on elbow stumps. Every movement leaves a bloody trail on the armor. Bandages have slipped. I see the white bone of the radius sticking out of the meat. It rubs against the iron. Strange, but almost no pain. There is only cold knowledge. This is bone. This is my body, and it is being destroyed. I fall into the driver's seat. Breath bursts from my chest with a whistle. Heart pounding so hard, it feels like it will break ribs. Put it in gear. Again with the foot. Again that terrible kick with the bare heel. The tank crawls up, climbing out of the crater. Navigation by sound again. The German whip has become quieter. It remained behind. The Soviet bass has become louder. It no longer just booms, it shakes the earth around. We are getting closer. I don't know how much time has passed. A minute? An hour? An eternity? Time here is measured not in minutes, but in heartbeats and liters of lost blood. Head becoming heavy as a lead weight. Colored circles float before the eyes. Blood loss is taking its toll. The body is failing. I feel cold rising from legs to stomach. Don't sleep. Just don't sleep. I hit myself on the cheeks with stumps, smearing blood on my face. Pain sobers me for a second, but then the fog returns. Suddenly the sound changes. A different sound mixes into the roar of the cannonade, a frequent, rapid rattle. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta! Machine guns. Maxims. I won't confuse this sound with anything. This is the sound of our infantry. That means I made it. I broke through no man's land. I am almost with my own. But almost doesn't count in war. Your own side can shoot you too. A lone tank coming from the German side, without identifying marks, with a torn-off antenna and a mangled turret. This is a suspicious target. I can't signal. No flare gun. No radio. I can't open the hatch. I just drive toward the sound of machine guns, hoping they won't fire a 45mm at me. Levers press on bones. The rags on the arms have turned into blood-soaked papier-mâché. They dried to the wounds, and every movement tears them off with meat. I feel joints crunching. I am no longer human. I am a biomechanical node connecting levers and pedals. I am will enclosed in a dying body. Another 100 meters. Another 50. I have to deliver the machine. I have to deliver myself. I have to prove to this war that it is harder to break a man than steel. 47 minutes.
Exactly that long lasts an eternity compressed into kilometers of earth plowed by tracks. I don't know how I'm driving. Consciousness works in flashes, like a strobe light. Flash, I see a narrow strip of light in the periscope. Flash, I feel the bare right foot sliding on the gas pedal in a pool of my own blood. Flash, hellish pain in the elbows when I lean with my whole weight on the lever to correct the course. My tank is no longer a combat vehicle. It is a 30-ton guided missile launched into the rear of its own troops. I stopped distinguishing sounds long ago. The engine drone merged with the ringing in my ears into one monotone note drilling into the brain. I don't hear shots. I don't hear the shouts of infantry past whom my smoking, broken T-34 rushes. Fighters in trenches follow me with frightened looks. They see a ghost tank, antenna sheared, turret black with soot, gun looking at the ground, hatches battened down, and the machine rushing in zigzags like a drunk, crushing bushes and wire entanglements. I must stop. Instinct suggests that I am already deep in the rear. There are no craters here. The grass is green, not scorched. But I can't stop. I simply don't have the strength to depress the clutch and yank out the gear. My left leg, which clamped the main clutch pedal at the start of the journey, is now numb and turned to stone. Right leg is clamped onto the gas in a cramp. I am a hostage of my own inertia. I will drive until the diesel runs out, or until I crash into an obstacle that can stop this steel avalanche. A wall grows in front. I see it vaguely, like a dark spot on a light background. It isn't a German tank. It is something wooden, earthen, a dugout, or a warehouse. Nothing to break with, no hands, not enough legs. Sorry, big guy, I whisper, closing my eyes. Impact. The tank slams into the log embankment with a crash like a train wreck. 30 tons of steel at 25 miles per hour snap pine logs 3 layers thick, like matchsticks. The earth upheaves. Logs crack, burst, fly apart in splinters. The tank punches through the wall, bursts inside the structure, and freezes, burying its frontal armor in the earthen berm of the back wall. The engine coughs one last time and dies. Silence. This silence is scarier than the cannonade. It is absolute. It presses on the eardrums like a heavy cotton blanket. Dust raised by the impact settles slowly in the sunbeams breaking through the breach in the roof. Outside, panic begins. This is a rear field hospital. Orderlies, doctors, walking wounded, everyone scatters. Someone screams in a piercing voice. Germans! Breakthrough! Tanks in the rear! People grab rifles, grenades. They are sure this is a German maneuver. That SS machine gunners will climb out of the hatch right now and start mowing everyone down indiscriminately. A political officer runs up to the tank with a TT pistol in his hand. He is pale, hands trembling, but he is ready to shoot. "Come out!" he yells, aiming at the viewing slit. "Come out, Snake, or I'll blow you up with a grenade!" The tank is silent. No sound, no movement. Only hot metal crackles, cooling down,
and oil drips from the pierced crankcase. The political officer comes closer, sees the star on the turret, sees the characteristic silhouette of a T-34, lowers the pistol. "Ours," he exhales. "Comrades, it's ours! Mechanic, kill the engine! Get out!" But no one gets out. "Maybe it's empty?" asks a young nurse, clutching a bag of bandages to her chest. "Maybe it drove here itself?" "Tanks don't drive themselves," an old orderly with a bandaged head throws out grimly. "Give me a crowbar. Hatch is jammed." They bring a crowbar.
2 burly soldiers climb onto the frontal armor. They drive the point of the crowbar into the crack of the driver's hatch.
"Heave! 1, 2!"
Metal screeches. The lock, deformed by explosion and impact, doesn't give.
"Again! Heave!"
With a crack, the latch snaps. The heavy hatch cover flips to the side, banging against the armor. From the black hole erupts a cloud of heavy, suffocating smell. It isn't just the smell of a machine. It is the smell of a slaughterhouse. A mix of diesel, gunpowder fumes, feces, and the thick, sweet stench of fresh blood. The orderly looks inside and recoils, covering his mouth with his hand. "Mother of God," he whispers with white lips. "Doctor! Doctor, urgently!" Inside, in the gloom of the fighting compartment, sits a man, or what is left of him. He is unconscious. His head has fallen onto the dashboard, face buried in the speedometer dial, breaking the glass. The helmet has slid off, revealing hair matted with sweat and dirt. But it isn't this that makes the hardened orderlies freeze in horror. They are looking at the hands. There are no hands. On the control levers lie 2 bloody, shapeless stumps. The dirty rags they were wrapped in have unraveled and hang in tatters soaked in black, thickened blood. White bones of the forearms, exposed and shattered, press right into the diamond plate steel of the levers. You can see how the man pressed them against the metal, grinding the flesh down to the base. The levers are covered with a layer of meat and caked blood, as if they were painted with red varnish. "How did he drive?" someone whispers. "What did he steer with?" The doctor's gaze slides down. On the floor, in a pool of oil and blood, lies a tarpaulin boot. And on the gas pedal, a bare, dirty human foot has frozen. The toes are cramped so hard they dug into the metal of the pedal like a bird's talons. Skin on the heel is torn to the meat, a trace from kicks on the gearshift lever. The second leg, in a boot, has dead-pressed the clutch. It is an impossible, surreal sight. A stump man, crucified on the tank's mechanisms, merged with it in a single pre-death effort. "Alive?" The political officer's voice trembles. The doctor jumps onto the armor, leans into the hatch, puts fingers to the carotid artery on the tanker's neck. A second. 2. 3. "There's a pulse!" he shouts. "Thready, but it's there! Pull him out! Carefully, don't tear the stumps! Tourniquet, quick, tourniquet!" They pull me out like a doll. The body has lost weight. I don't feel touches. Someone's hands grab me under the armpits. Someone pulls by the belt. Pain returns in a sharp flash when they yank me out of the tight hatch. I wheeze. They lay me on the ground. No, not on the ground. On a rain cape. Grass. I smell grass. Not burning, not diesel, but living, green grass. Faces lean over me. Frightened, dirty, familiar. A woman's voice says something quickly. I feel a prick in the shoulder. Morphine. Blessed warmth begins to spread through the veins, washing away the hellish pulsation in the arms. I peel my eyelids open with difficulty, eyelashes stuck together with blood. What do I see?
I see the sky. It is high, infinite, and piercingly blue. White clouds float across it, calm and indifferent to what is happening below. This sky knows nothing of war. It is the same as it was in childhood, when I lay in the field behind the village and looked up, dreaming of becoming a pilot. I didn't become a pilot. I became a tanker. And now I have no hands to embrace this sky. Water, I whisper. Voice sounds like rustling dry leaves. An aluminum mug is pressed to my lips. The water is warm, tastes of chlorine, but it is the tastiest drink in my life. I take a gulp and cough. "Easy, dear, easy," whispers the nurse, wiping my face with damp gauze. She is crying.
Her tears drip onto my forehead, mixing with the dirt. Why is she crying? I made it. I completed the task. I survived. A crowd gathers around. Soldiers, wounded on crutches. They look at me silently. There is no pity in their eyes. In them is holy horror and respect. They look at my bandaged stumps, at the bloody tank levers sticking out of the hatch, and try to put this puzzle together in their heads. "Can you believe that?" Someone rumbles from behind. "No hands, through a minefield, to our lines." "Iron," another voice answers. "The guy is iron." I close my eyes. Darkness becomes soft, velvety. Pain recedes, becomes distant and unimportant. Mission accomplished. Mechanism switched off. Now I can just be human, even if only half a human remains. The hospital smells not of hope, but of carbolic acid and rotting meat. It is the smell of consequences. Here, war ceases to be roar and fire, turning into quiet moans, the clink of surgical instruments, and the rustle of starched coats. I lie on a hard cot. Sheets are gray, washed out, but clean. The body feels alien, light, and useless. I don't feel my hands. More accurately, I feel them. Fingers clench, palms sweat. But when I try to move them, only bandages move, tightly tied at elbow level. Phantom pain is a lie of the brain that refuses to believe in the new anatomy. The ward door opens sharply, without a knock. Not a doctor enters. A man in a clean, ironed uniform with cornflower blue collar tabs enters. A major of state security, special department. SMERSH. He looks foreign amidst bloody bandages and plaster. He smells of expensive tobacco, leather holster belts, and cold, bureaucratic power. He isn't here to heal. He is here to dissect the truth. The major places a chair next to the cot, sits down with a creak of boot leather, takes out a folder, opens it. His gaze is tenacious, prickly, professionally distrustful. "Sergeant Konovalov." Voice quiet, even. "Yes, sir," I wheeze. Try to rise, but no strength. "Lie down." The conversation will be long. He takes out a fountain pen, neatly unscrews the cap. "Report the circumstances of the battle on July 12th. Why did you abandon the combat position? Where is the crew? Why did the machine return to the rear and not stay in formation?" Questions fall like stones, heavy, accusatory. In his logic, everything is simple. Tank left the battlefield means desertion. Crew died and driver is alive means cowardice. The regulations are written in blood, and they tolerate no exceptions. "Crew died immediately," I say, looking at the ceiling. "Direct hit. Ferdinand. Range 1 kilometer. Belyaev, Malinin, the loader. Smeared them."
And you? The Major squints. Why did you survive?
Got lucky. Sat lower.
Got lucky. He writes down the word as if tasting it. Let's assume. But why did you turn the machine around? Why did you drive to the rear and not accept battle? Or not abandon the downed tank as prescribed by instruction? I turn my head and look him in the eye. Because I wanted to live, Comrade Major, and wanted to save the machine. Couldn't leave it to the enemy. Save the machine? He chuckles, but the smile doesn't touch his eyes. Sergeant, you have both hands amputated. Total traumatic amputation. Doctors say you lost 2 liters of blood. In such a state, a person loses consciousness in 5 minutes. You claim that in such a state, you drove a 30-ton tank for 2 miles over rough terrain. You understand that this is impossible? He pauses. Who drove the tank, Konovalov? Who sat at the levers? Did you pick someone up? Or maybe a German sat at the levers? Suspicion hangs in the air. Espionage. Treason. This is scarier than a tribunal. This is execution by a ravine without trial. I drove, I whisper, throat dry. Drove myself. With what? The Major nods at my stumps. Power of thought? Pressed with stumps, tied tourniquet with teeth, jammed gears with feet. The Major is silent. He looks at me like I'm insane, or like a brazen liar making up a tall tale to cover his hide. He snaps the folder shut. We'll check, he throws out dryly. Tank is sealed. Forensics will show. If you lied, you go to the tribunal, even without hands. A day passes, or 2. Time in the hospital is viscous, like morphine. I lie and watch flies crawling on the light bulb. I don't care. I did my job. Let them shoot me. The dead don't need hands. The door opens again. The Major again. But now he is different. Cap in hand. Tunic collar unbuttoned. He looks tired, somewhat crumpled. He silently walks to the cot, places the chair but doesn't sit. Walks around the ward. I was there, he says dully, looking out the window. In your tank. I am silent. Techs cut the hatch. Mechanism jammed tight. Inside. He grimaces, choosing words. Inside is a slaughterhouse. Ground meat. He turns to me. There is no more ice in his eyes. There is bewilderment. We inspected the driver's seat. He bends his fingers, listing facts like hammer blows. First, control levers. Ebonite stripped off. On the metal, dried blood mixed with fabric fibers and bone fragments. The expert confirmed, "Those are your bones, Sergeant. You rubbed your arms down to the elbows against the steel." Second, gearshift lever, tooth marks on the handle. On the gate, blood and fragments of skin from a foot. Third, and most important, the Major reaches into his breeches pocket and takes out an object, tosses it onto the nightstand next to my cot. It is a shoelace. Dirty, black, oil-soaked shoelace. Found on the floor, he says. Next to the boot. Not tied tight, torn. Visible that it was torn by teeth. And the boot was lying in the corner. Right one. He falls silent. In the ward, you can hear water dripping from the tap in the wash basin. Witnesses from the infantry confirmed the route. Tank went in zigzags, uncontrolled, but went toward the sound of our machine guns. Artillerymen said they heard the engines screaming at the limit. You squeezed the soul out of it. The Major comes close. He smells of tobacco,
but now this smell seems familiar. He takes out a pack of Kazbek cigarettes, taps one out. "Will you smoke?" I nod. He puts the cigarette in my mouth, strikes a match. I inhale. The smoke is acrid, bitter. It burns the lungs, but clears the brain. "Sorry, Sergeant," says the major quietly. "It's the job, not to believe." He sits on the edge of the cot, violating all instructions. "I've been at war for 3 years, seen people run, seen them betray, seen them go crazy. But this, for a man to disassemble himself into spare parts just to get there, this is beyond my understanding." In the report I wrote, "Feat of arms. Command is already informed. Put in for the Order of the Red Banner." "Thanks," I exhale with the smoke. "Don't thank me." He puts on his cap, adjusts the badge. "Thank yourself, and the machine. You turned out to be of the same blood." When the major leaves, the old surgeon peeks into the ward, the same one who operated on me. He has a gray goatee and the tired eyes of a biblical prophet. He changes the bandages. His movements are fast, precise, but gentle. "Special officer came?" asks the doctor, not looking at me. "He came." "Interrogated?" "Checked." The doctor nods. He unwinds layers of gauze, revealing terrible crimson stumps. The stitches are still fresh, black threads on inflamed skin. "I've been sewing people up for 30 years, he says, applying ointment. "Since the German War. Thought I knew anatomy, knew where a man's limit is, where physiology ends and death begins." He looks me in the eye over his glasses. "By all laws of medicine, you should have died in the 5th minute of combat from pain shock and blood loss. Your heart should have stopped. Your brain should have shut down. You are a medical anomaly, son. You cheated death." "I just really wanted to live, doctor." "No," the doctor shakes his head, tying the bandage knot. "Everyone wants to live, but not everyone is ready to become iron for it. You proved that spirit is stronger than matter. But," he sighs, hiding scissors in his coat pocket, "the war is over for you, hero. Now begins the hardest part. Life without hands. And believe me, an old doctor, this will be scarier than the breakthrough at Prokhorovka. There you fought the German. Here, you'll have to fight yourself. Every day." I look at my bandaged stumps, white, neat cocoons against the gray blanket. The doctor is right. The tank battle lasted an hour. The road to our lines, 47 minutes. And ahead, decades. Decades of helplessness. How will I eat? How will I dress? How will I hug a woman? Fear of the future turns like a cold, sticky lump in my stomach. This is scarier than a tiger's sights. But I remember the gear shift lever. I remember how my bare foot pushed the cold steel. I remember the engine roar that answered my order. I managed to start a 30-ton tank without hands. Can I really not start my own life? I close my eyes and take a drag. The cigarette smolders, ash falls on my chest. Nothing to brush it off with. I blow on it, and gray flakes scatter in the air. It's okay. We'll think of something. We're tankers. We're made of iron. The Order of the Red Banner is a heavy piece of silver with red enamel. It cools the chest through the thin fabric of the tunic. An award for a feat. The state valued 47 minutes of driving through a minefield and saving a combat vehicle exactly at this. A fair price? A rhetorical question. The order hangs on the chest, but the sleeves are empty. The war for Sergeant Konovalov ended not in Berlin, not under fireworks and shouts of hurrah. It ended in a quiet ward of a rear hospital, under the scratch of a fountain pen writing out discharge papers. Invalid, first group, unfit for service. Returning home isn't a celebration. It is a second, invisible front line, sometimes more terrible than the Kursk salient. There, in the tank, the task was simple: survive and destroy the enemy. Here, the enemy is daily life. The enemy is the pitying glances of women at the well. The enemy is the inability to button your pants or roll a cigarette yourself. He returns to his native village. Log cabin, garden, field. Everything as before, only he is different. His father, an old blacksmith with hands like oak roots, meets his son silently. Doesn't cry. Men in their family don't cry. He looks at his son's empty sleeves, then into his eyes, and sees there the same blackness that was in the periscope near Prokhorovka. The first months are a hell of inaction. Konovalov walks around the yard like a shadow. He was used to controlling 30 tons of steel, and now he can't hold a spoon. The feeling of helplessness eats at the soul faster than rust eats abandoned metal. He sees his father and mother breaking their backs in the field. The country is starving, bread is needed, and he, a healthy man with broad shoulders and a clear head, sits on the porch and warms his stumps in the sun. One evening he comes to the forge. Father is hitting a hot billet with a hammer. Sparks fly in a fan. "Dad," says Konovalov, voice dull, firm. "Make me hands." Father lowers the hammer, wipes sweat from his forehead. "God gives hands, son." "God took his back. Make iron ones. I'm getting on a tractor." Father looks long, assessing. This isn't a cripple's request. This is a mechanic's technical specification. Work begins. Not medical, but engineering. Doctors in the hospital offered prosthetics, wooden, lacquered, with rubber fingers. Dolls, mock-ups. You can only scare children with them or lie in a coffin. Konovalov needs a tool. Father forges cups, steel hemispheres curved exactly to the shape of the stumps. Inside, soft rawhide and felt so the metal doesn't rub the scars raw. Hooks and clamps are welded to the cups. "Try it on." Father holds out the contraption. Konovalov inserts the stumps into the leather sockets, tightens straps with teeth. This skill stayed with him forever. Heavy, cold, but it is an extension of the body. They go to the tractor. An old KHTZ stands in the shed. The steering wheel is a rigid iron rim. Father welds special grip brackets onto the wheel. Konovalov climbs into the cab. Again the smell of oil, gasoline, and dust. The smell of life. He inserts his steel hooks into the slots on the wheel. "Well, Godspeed," he whispers. A kick to the starter. The engine coughs and comes alive. Vibration goes through the wheel, through the steel of the prosthetics, straight into the shoulders, into the spine. This is a familiar tremor. The machine accepted him. The tractor moves. He is back in the ranks. Not at war, but in battle. The battle for the harvest. Years go by. The iron of the prosthetics is polished to a mirror shine. Konovalov works like two-handed men don't work. From dawn to dusk. He plows, sows, harvests grain. He becomes the best machine operator in the district. His claws, that's what they call them in the village without malice, with respect, know every lever, every bolt. He learned to repair the engine, clamping a wrench between the hooks. Learned to hold a spoon by welding a ring to it. Learned to write, clamping a pencil in a special groove. He marries, raises children. He builds a house, drags logs himself,
hooking them with the claws. People stop noticing his injury. They see not an invalid, but a master. One day, many years later, he is sitting on the porch. He is already over 60, hair gray, face cut with wrinkles like a terrain map. On his knees sits his grandson, a little boy of 5. The boy touches Granddad's hands. The metal has warmed in the sun, but still it is hard, inanimate. "Grandpa?" asks the grandson, fingering the steel rivets on the leather. "Does it hurt?" Konovalov looks at his prosthetics, then at the soft, pink palms of his grandson. "No, dear. Iron doesn't hurt." "Why do you have hands like that? Why not like Dad's?" The old tanker is silent. He remembers July of 43. Heat, burning, taste of blood in the mouth. Remembers those 47 minutes when he ground his real bones against the levers to drive the tank out. Remembers the faces of friends who remained in the burning machine. He could tell about tigers, about explosions, about how burnt human meat smells. But he says something else.
"I left my hands there, in the field," he says quietly, "so that yours would stay whole." The grandson doesn't understand the deep meaning, but goes quiet. "I survived so you could ask questions," continues Konovalov, looking at the sunset. "So you would never have to push levers with bare bones. So you would hold a steering wheel with warm fingers, not cold hooks." This is the finale. Heroism isn't a flash. Heroism isn't one moment of insane bravery when adrenaline drowns out fear. True heroism is the long, monotonous work of will. Driving a tank out of battle without hands is a miracle of physiology and spirit. But living another 40 years, putting on prosthetics every day and going out into the field to feed the country, that is true heroism. The steel grip isn't about muscle strength. It's about the strength that forces a man to stand up when standing up is impossible. It's about the ability to turn your pain into fuel. Konovalov died in his bed, surrounded by children and grandchildren. His Order of the Red Banner lay in a box, and next to it, on the nightstand, lay his working hands. Worn, scratched, living tools with which he built his life anew. The story of the driver-mechanic is an anatomy textbook of the human soul. Proof that a human ends not where flesh breaks off, but where will breaks. As long as the will is intact, a human is indestructible, like a T-34 tank.